Jaden Ivey is a player who, quite honestly, has tape as a rookie that has been one of the most wild for me to watch. Not only among this rookie class, but maybe of any rookie I've watched on tape since I started making basketball content. He's as electric as he is volatile on tape. Overall, I think he's a very exciting player to watch. The potential that made him a top 5 pick, and for me personally, a top 3 prospect in the class, has clearly shown on tape. And along with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren, who I recently made a video about, the Pistons should be excited for the long-term future of the team, especially with a likely super high draft pick in 2023. When it comes to Ivey in particular, I think he has the skill set that fits well with this core when everyone is healthy. He flashes versatility on and off the ball as an offensive player, as well as overall just having pretty good all-around potential as a player. However, he does have a lot of ups and downs on tape, which isn't a problem by any means. He's a rookie in the NBA, that's to be expected. But I will say this, his ups and downs are wildly noticeable on tape. In fact, I will go as far to say it's the most noticeable of any rookie on tape since 2019. When you watch Jaden Ivey on tape, what stands out the most is his athleticism, specifically his speed and quickness. Ivey is already one of the 5 fastest players in the league, and honestly has a case for being the fastest player in the league. It's something you just can't teach, and it shows up on tape. He uses his speed with and without the basketball in his hands, as well as in transition and half-court situations. And if he gets a first step on his defender, there's no stopping him or trying to keep up with him. He's also a great vertical athlete and has good flexibility. And I also think he has decent strength for his frame and NBA experience as well. The way I would describe Ivey as an athlete is the middle point between an Anthony Edwards power athlete and a Jalen Green finesse athlete. He's not quite the pure power athlete that Ant is, but he's also not a pure glidey finesse athlete like Jalen is either. He showcases flashes of both power and finesse in his athleticism on tape. He's someone that has some potential to get to the line. He has all the tools to be a great slasher and transition threat, and with continued progression, I think he will be. I think he will be a player that makes that the foundation of his game, which is highly beneficial for this Pistons offense once everyone is healthy, on top of being a good fit with whoever they take in the upcoming draft. Ivey is also a player that has some potential in other areas of offense as well. He has shown promise as a shooter. He's shown shot creating flashes off the dribble. He's shown catch and shoot flashes. He's shown off movement flashes. He's shown pull up shooting flashes. He's shown a willingness to take threes. He's shown some potential from the mid-range area. Now, he's far from a perfect shooter. He's shooting 33.6% from 3 on 4.2 attempts per game. He's shooting 43.2% on 1.7 mid-range shot attempts per game. And he's shooting 36.4% on 7.4 total jump shot attempts per game. I do think he struggles with the same shot selection problems we see from a lot of young scoring guards in their rookie season. I do think with experience he can get better in this area. I don't think it's an ability problem. I think it's more of a decision-making problem, which isn't uncommon. I don't think Ivey will ever be a big-time shooter with lights-out numbers from beyond the arc, but I do think Ivey has the potential to be a good shooter that uses it as a tool to complement his slashing ability. I think he's already at a point where he can't be left open because he will take them, and he's a player that's capable of hitting open shots. But I think he can progress to being good enough as a shooter to punish defenses for going under the screen, because they're just going to go under the screen because of how dangerous he could be as a slasher. Ivey also has playmaking potential. He has shown it throughout his rookie season, especially because he's gotten more on-ball reps than probably expected as a rookie, and that is due to the fact that the team's primary playmaker, Cade Cunningham, has basically missed the entire season. Now, I don't think Ivey has full-time primary playmaking upside. I don't think his feel as a passer is quite that high, but I do think he has pretty solid to good feel as a passer. But again, it just takes a certain level of feel to be a full-time primary playmaker in the NBA, and not everyone has that. There's probably only about 5% of the league to maybe 10 to 15 at most, and that might be stretching it as far as guys with that level of feel as a passer. But I do think, again, he has a lot of potential in this area, especially as a player off drives and transition situations, and I do like what I see from him in some DHO situations as well. Ivey, to me, profiles best as a secondary playmaker, someone that can be a connecting passer next to a primary. Now, I'm not saying he can't handle some primary reps. I do think with some second units, when the primary playmaker is on the bench getting rest, he can handle that to a certain extent, and he has shown some capability in that area, but I think a secondary connecting role as a playmaker is more likely. Given the potential Ivey has as a rim pressure threat with unreal slashing gravity, with progression and improvement with his overall offensive game as a scorer, it will just lead to him expanding his game as a passing playmaker, and if you can get that out of your connector, and your connecting playmaker has that much gravity in a specific area of scoring, that is extremely valuable, and something that I think will work really well next to Cade Cunningham, who I still believe is the Pistons franchise player. Now, for as great as Ivey is as an athlete, and the potential I believe he has as an all-around player on offense, there is one thing that's very noticeable on tape. He's a wildly out-of-control player. He has a lot of moments where his speed leads to him being out of control. Sometimes the game just moves too fast for him, and ironically enough, most of the time it's because he's moving too fast, literally. Now, oddly enough, this hasn't shown up in offensive fouls, which you would think is common considering he does have these out-of-control plays and speed is such a factor in his game. But he only averages 0.16 offensive fouls per game. That's 9 total on the season and 57 games played, and that only accounts for 5.1% of the fouls he's committed this season. It honestly shows up a lot more in lost ball turnovers and bad pass turnovers and situations. He tries to make a pass when he realizes the defenders are in the paint, and it's probably not a good idea to take the shot, but it's too late at that point, and he tries to make the play even if it's not there. He plays with a reckless confidence, which has led to a lot of exciting plays, and I do believe having reckless confidence is much better than having no confidence at all, especially from a top 5 pick that's a scoring guard with the profile Ivey has as an offensive player. But that reckless confidence can get him in trouble, and it shows on tape. He does struggle with shot selection. He does have moments where he sees a teammate but not the defender in the area in passing situations, and both of these things I feel can be attributed to him having the confidence to try things. I would say it's about a 50-50 split between things he tries that he's capable of doing but tries them in situations he probably shouldn't, and the other 50% being him trying things he's probably not capable of. Now, for as weird as this may sound, I do believe this is a good problem to have. I think this is experience at game speed reps that he can learn from over time. I also think a player this talented having the problem of being overly confident is something that is much better than a player that is extremely talented but doesn't have that confidence at all. You can't teach confidence, and it's something that you have or you don't, and Ivey has it, and even though it has led to him having these turnover problems and playing out of control, it also is something that has led to what I believe will be the swing factor in him reaching his highest potential outcome. And I feel like a lot of the problems with Ivey are things that can realistically be improved upon. It's not uncommon to see young players with this kind of scoring potential and athleticism have flaws like this on tape. I think Ivey can naturally improve on his control as a player with experience at the NBA level with game speed reps. and honestly, I'm confident he can and will improve in this area based off the track record I've seen from other guards of his talent that have similar flaws when they entered the league. I think Ivey has potential to be one of the better two guards in the league. He has athleticism you can't teach combined with talent, skills, and traits that make me believe he has all-around offensive potential. I think he can play both on and off the ball and be effective. Now, realistically, I don't think Ivey will be a primary offensive option. I think his best basketball will be playing off of an elite offensive playmaker. I think the Pistons have one of those on roster, and hopefully that player will be healthy next season. I do think there are some traits of a primary offensive option in Ivey, but there can only be so many primary offensive options on high-level teams in the NBA, and I do think it's more realistic that Ivey is a second or third option on a contender one day, which is still a really good player. Second and third options on contenders are still all-star and borderline all-NBA players, which is the potential I think Ivey has. I think at his best, Ivey can be a player that's in a similar role to guys like Jalen Brown or John Wall era Bradley Beal, a player who can put up 20 plus points per game in a more secondary role next to a primary offensive player. Again, Ivey does have traits where it wouldn't shock me if I'm wrong about this projection. I do think there is a world where he's even better than this. When you look at the history of superstars in this league, especially recently, not too many of them were projected to be superstars after their rookie season. And I would have loved to see the outcome where Ivey is a superstar because he's a super fun player to watch. But I think based off the Pistons, other core players, and what I see on tape, what I've laid out is a more realistic high-end outcome, which isn't an insult because what I think Ivey could be is still a quality player as a high-end outcome. Someone that can make multiple All-Star teams and maybe a few All-NBA teams. Ivey is already an exciting player to watch, and I think he has potential to be more than just exciting. I think he has potential to be a really good player for a very long time.